cover story. Rear Admiral Connie Mariano, personal physician of President Bill Clinton.
It was there that I received my shoulder boards as a Rear Admiral.
Parliamentary of presidential system, Du Film's care, and in the spotlight, Red Cape Cinema, film filmmakers on the web.
I'm just kind of glad to be part of that new independent filmmaking wave.
Plus the Expat's Kitchen, brought to you by Seafood City. At home ako sa'yo. There was a time in the history of Filipinos in America when signs on the doors of public places read, "Absolutely no Filipinos allowed." And when Pinoys joined the US Navy, they were usually hired as stewards, as cooks, helpers, or valets, entering the homes of the senior officers through the back door. Well, our cover story is about a Pinay who shattered these barriers and stereotypes. Retired Rear Admiral Connie Mariano, US Navy, personal physician of President Bill Clinton.
The very first time I saw the White House was really through the kitchen. My father's cousin, Connie Mariano, had been a valet under Kennedy in the 1960s. So that was the only way we could see the White House, was the kitchen tour. When my father was a steward and I would visit him in the home of the Admiral, you never go through the front door, you go through the back door, you go through the kitchen. So you grow up with a sense of humility. And in a lot of ways, you have this underlying sense of you're not good enough. And it forces you to try harder. And it was very symbolic that when I was promoted to Rear Admiral, the first Filipino American in the US Navy to become a Rear Admiral, that the President asked me, where do you want to have the ceremony? I said, in the state dining room. This is where my people served, in the kitchen, you know, the state dining room. And it was there that I received my shoulder boards as a Rear Admiral. My father was enlisted in the United States Navy. He was in Cavite. He was a steward. In those days, in the 1940s, if you were Filipino or Chinese or African American, you are automatically placed as a valet, steward, houseboy. So he worked in the homes of admirals. He cooked and he cleaned and did the laundry, took care of the pets, and that's where he began. But he fortunately, after 29 years, retired as a Master Chief, the highest rank you can achieve as an enlisted man in the US Navy.
How did you get into the Navy?
Well, when I was applying to medical school, my parents really couldn't afford to put me through regular medical school. It was very expensive. And one of the opportunities was the military medical school, my alma mater, the Uniformed Services University School of Medicine in Bethesda, which offered you a full scholarship. And as part of that, you were commissioned on day one of your matriculation as a naval officer.
And how long did it take to move from one rank to another?
It was a little bit faster being as a physician, because we're, there, especially in the Navy, the usual progression from rank to rank. When I was a medical student, year one, you're commissioned as an O1, as an ensign. When you graduated 4 years later, you were a full lieutenant. And then about 4 to 6 years later, lieutenant commander, and then commander, and so forth. So when I was chosen as a Navy physician to go to the White House in 1992, I was promoted twice. I was promoted in 1994 when I became the senior physician under President Clinton, which is an automatic promotion from commander to captain, which I think I had been only a commander for about less than 2 years, which is very fast. We called it deep selected. And then when I went from captain to Rear Admiral, it was about a little bit longer, 4 to 6 years.
Why do you think you were picked by President Clinton?
I think I had the courage and the honesty to take care of him. I was not intimidated by him. And he knew that what he had learned from the stewards, worked with them day in, day out, the Filipino valets, that I could be trusted. And that his best interests in health care, his personal care and his family's care were the only things on my mind. That I could be trusted with whatever he told me.
Dr. Mariano once said that as a steward in the U.S. Navy, her father entered the officers' homes through the back door, while she entered the White House through the front door. But that became possible only through the efforts and sacrifices of her father and his generation of Filipino Americans. More about her when we return. We now continue with the fascinating career of Dr. Connie Mariano.
What was your experience like with President Clinton?
He was very down to earth, very friendly, and a lot of it was good humor. You know, if you could hold up to his humor, if you paid attention to things there, and really very caring. He was very easy to work with.
And what about Hillary?
A very strong woman, very personal, very private, but extremely caring. So one of the things she once told me, at the time there were books being written about their personal life by people who didn't even know them, and we were talking upstairs on the second floor of the private residence, and I made a comment, you know, your valets, they see everything here. You know, they could write a book called Dirty Laundry. They see everything. But she said, you know, Connie, they would never write a book about us like that because they're honorable men. And she believed that.
You could have gone on to become a two-star general, full-fledged admiral. Why did you decide to retire?
It was time to move on. I think when I had started that job, my children were 3 and 5, and they were 12 and 14 when I left. And really the finale was I was going through some books in the basement of my house in Virginia at the time. I had a day off, and I found one of my children's journals. It was written, at the time he was about 7 years old. It was a journal of his day, and there was a very sad entry that I saw. It said, today mommy is on another trip. When she is away, the house is dark. It is as though she is dead. And I said, that's it. It is time to retire. It's time to move on.
Now, what was your most difficult experience as personal physician of the president?
It's when he became injured. It's where he tore his quadriceps tendon when we were in Florida. Because part of it was saying, no, you cannot exercise, you must rest. It's making sure he listened to medical orders because he will always go, go, go. And then also arguing with his staff who kept wanting to schedule all these events. You know, I said, he's just had surgery, he cannot travel. Oh no, he said, I need to go to Helsinki and meet with Boris Yeltsin in 4 days. Make it happen. So we brought the surgeon, the physical therapist, we loaded up the plane, he was in a wheelchair and we went. So it was constantly fighting. You know, when you have to yell at the president or the president yells at you, you've reached the ultimate, the peak.
What made you decide to set up this executive medical practice?
I had been recruited by the Mayo Clinic in Scottsdale after I retired from the Navy and left the White House in 2001. And it was a very good program where I would see about 5 to 7 corporate CEOs every day, and I would do their physicals and, you know, follow-up care. And what happened was more and more of my patients said, you know, I don't want to see you just once a year. I want to see you whenever I get sick. And as a result, I wanted to follow the model we established at the White House where you do 24-hour care. Your patients call you any time of day. And so I said, fine, let me go ahead and leave the Mayo Clinic on very good graces and form my own practice. And I brought about half my patients with me.
How did you react to the desperate housewife comments on Filipino doctors?
I was insulted. You know, what gives them the right to say that? Somebody who obviously doesn't know anything about Filipinos, and they were stereotyping them. And a lot of excellent physicians and professionals are from the Philippines. They're very good at what they do.
Finally, what's your advice to young Philams? Is there really a glass ceiling?
There is, but it can be broken. And the goal is to encourage them to keep pursuing it. And when you break the glass ceiling, you take the hammer and you hand it to somebody else to break another glass ceiling.
For those of you who are intimidated by the so-called glass ceiling in America, the story of Dr. Connie Mariano should serve as an inspiration.